Yelqi Campaign for the Truth for giving a chance for us representing Palestinians and Jordanians to speak here today. First of all, we all have to remember today those 6 million people who were killed just because of the fact they were Jews. There's not enough time today to stand for a moment for them, but in our hearts, we should all, as humanity, say together, never again. Never again is much easier said than done. Never again involves strategy, not only guns, not only Merkavas and F-16s and M16s. Never again involves a permanent situation. What Israel, me as a Jordanian politician could confirm, what Israel lacks is a strategy. When, and this is where, by the way, I'm doing my second PhD on, the establishment of the Hashemite state on eastern Palestine, which is now called Jordan. That country, when it was established, Abdullah I had a theory, had a strategy that's still working today, that's still effective today. Our Jewish brothers and sisters, from the minute they decided to put together the first kibbutzim, they never had a strategy. They had sometimes the use of force, sometimes the use of negotiations, and even worse, keeping the situation as is, which, believe it or not, was Israel's strategy for 20 years. For the last 20 years, until the so-called knife intifada began, believe it or not, the almost official Israeli policy was keep it as is where is. This is absolutely wrong. This is like ignoring a cancer, ignoring a problem that you have. It doesn't work. And what's even more horrifying for me, representing the interest of my people, the Jordanian and the Israeli and the Palestinian people. My people are people on both sides of the river, both sides of Beit HaMikdash. There was never a Jordan, never a Syria in today's terms, never a Palestine, and never an Israel in the sense of today's modern era. There was an Israel in today's modern era. These are new names. Ancient Israel in concept is different and much bigger in size. If you want to go name by name, this land was called Beit al-Maqdis. According to us Arabs, we never called it Palestine. It was called Beit al-Maqdis, Beit HaMikdash. Illegally, on official papers, Ottoman papers, it was Beit al-Maqdis, which includes all of what's today is called Jordan. Now, partition-wise, we have had it partitioned in 1919, right before the first Israeli soldier was ever in uniform. So we have had the land partition. Was the partition fair? No. Was any partition in history resulting from wars fair? Was the partition between India and Pakistan, which is almost identically similar, fair? 10 million people had to switch places across the borders. But the only difference, why we're not hearing about wars and settlements and negotiations between India and Pakistan today, because both refugees on both sides of the river have received their rights. Well, how come we're not hearing about 850,000 Jewish refugees who were expelled from Arab countries? Some of them my personal friends. Some of them my personal friends, extracted from their roots, extracted from their heritage, and then the money and property stolen. How come we didn't hear about them? You know why? Simple. Because when they arrived in the Jewish state, they received food, education, equality, jobs, and potential. How come we're still hearing about Palestinian refugees today? And congratulations to our sad state of affairs of Arab nations. 20, 50, 60 years from now, we're going to still be hearing about Syrian refugees. Now, why are we still refugees? Why do we still have Jordanian, Palestinian refugees? Because they were denied the very basic rights of existence, which an Iraqi Jewish refugee in Israel has been given on arrival. This is where the problem is. Do my people, my parents from Jerusalem, do they have the right to return to Jerusalem? Yes, through international law. Palestinians or Arab Arab Palestinians, because there were Jewish Palestinians too, do they have the right to return to Haifa and Tel Aviv? Absolutely. But is it doable? No, unless we want World War III and a massacre where we lose more of our youngsters trying to kill fully armed soldiers with knives. This is horrendous. I've had one of my own cousins killed recently trying to attack an Israeli jeep full of soldiers with a rock. You don't exactly do that. This state of affairs must end its lunacy, only that our Jewish friends don't have the strategy and not even enough information. Unfortunately, many Jews, and allow me to be critical today, after the massacre, the genocide, the Holocaust, the horrifying memories have been stuck in 60, 70 years of whining and crying over history and why this and why that, which doesn't take us anywhere. What could take us places is what's even more horrifying for me as a politician today, that many Jews and Israelis who are not my partners or cousins, they are our brothers and sisters. Those people who are in the same boat that's carrying us, Jordanians and Palestinians, if that boat sinks, we're both gonna go down. The problem is they're playing a new game with the old rules. They're playing the game of 2016, 2017 by the laws and the regulations of 1948. Theory is simple. Keep the Hashemites rule in Jordan because they keep the Palestinians under control and they so-called protect the borders. Things have changed. Arab Spring could never guarantee who's going to rule Jordan tomorrow. And the Americans, our American friends, do not seem too obligated to keep dictators in power. It's not going to change with President Obama leaving the office. It's going to remain the same. Why should America fight any wars to keep any Arab power? And one thing is certain, and one of the smartest political remarks made in 2016 was made by Hillary Clinton. She said, quote unquote, both Palestinians and Israelis need to know what will happen in Jordan before they return to the peace process. And we need to know whether Jordan will remain stable. Google that on the Washington Post. This is one of the smartest remarks about the so-called Israeli-Palestinian conflict ever made. We will never agree as Jordan's shadow government, as Jordan's opposition. We would never agree to ethnically cleansing Palestinian Arabs from Israel. Nonetheless, we would never tolerate any compromisation of Israel's right to be a Jewish state. We have 56 Muslim states, and we as human beings are willing in Jordan's shadow government to tolerate one tiny little Jewish state. That said, we need to understand that the entire peace process is not succeeding because one of the parties is getting a raw end of the deal. The Palestinians in the West Bank, in case you did not know, most of them are Jordanian citizens. In fact, 95% of them hold fully Jordanian passports and they travel with. This is a fact. This is not a theory. Those people are our citizens. Those people, we're responsible for them in Jordan. What we see for Jordan is change by which Jordan's monarchy departs. I know the king of Jordan has many enthusiasts in the Israeli and Jewish community. Nonetheless, I have bad news for them if that's what they choose. Not only the king is an open anti-Semite, unlike his father, who was a very somewhat moderate, reasonable man. This young man is very different, and it's not only him. I'm not concerned about him. Maybe his son will replace him tomorrow. The Jordanian regime today realizes that the only way to stay in power in the Arab Spring is to keep the unrest in Israel alive. And this was made public by one of the king's advisors on state TV just 2 months ago. That said, we need to understand that the game has changed. And now we're up for two things. It's either that Jordan will become a moderate, advanced democracy with zero tolerance for Islamists, a country that criminalizes the Muslim Brotherhood, criminalizes Hamas, criminalizes all of those people. And I mean criminalize, just like Egypt did. Either that, or we're going to see Jordan becoming Hamasistan or Muslim Brotherhoodstan for one reason. The king is yesterday's news, and you don't have to believe me. The royal family in Jordan is not going to stick around for too long for one single reason. A leaked Mossad report confirmed the top administration of the Mossad believes the king is on his way out. It could be 1 year, it could be 2 years, it could be 50. I don't know, but sooner or later we're going to end up with a new government in Jordan. It's your duty to either give those Palestinians in the West Bank the economic, geographic, and political outlet. We're not going to kick them out of Ramallah. We would never tolerate that. The same way I would never tolerate a Jew being kicked out of Tel Aviv. That means that those people will have the right to vote, right to practice citizenship, and receive welfare from Amman, not from Jerusalem. At the same time, we have to say, unless people wake up and begin supporting the moderates in Jordan, you might end up with the Islamists very soon. Betting on the king and the monarchy surviving, I think, is a very bad investment today. And let me conclude, my time is up, that we as Jordanians and the Jordanian shadow government shall never compromise our friendship and true relationship to our Jewish and Israeli brothers and sisters. And it's our duty, once in power, to protect Israel's existence as much as we protect Jordan's existence, for the main purpose of that Israel is the only island of security and stability in an ocean of insanity. May God bless our Jewish and Israeli friends and keep the peace.